Welcome once again to Marriage Without Tears channel. It has been an awesome experience delivering on this very particular topic. Very awesome topic indeed. And it's my pleasure to always abide with you week in, week out. My name is Felix Okeke. I am your marriage counselor and coach. Tonight we are going to be discussing an issue that will be of interest to you and millions of couples all over the whole world. So I want you to pay ultimate attention. What is our topic tonight? Simply put, when to end a marriage. When to end a marriage. I have a whole lot of people out there who believe that marriage is a permanent thing, is a permanent deal. That once you get married, that it is only there that will, part both of you. A lot of people believe that. And we have seen all over the whole world and over time that it is not always so. And a lot of people also believe whatever God has joined together, let no man put asunder. Sometimes I also look at that very particular statement critically. Are all the married couples all over the whole world, are they actually joined together by God? Are we sure that every person that is married was brought together in marriage by God? That is the question that needs a whole lot of analysis. So what are we talking about? We are talking about men and women out there who came together in marriage simply because of the interest of their parents who want to expand their business empire. And they decided that their daughter and their wonderful son should get married together to enable them achieve their ultimate vision. Is it by God? Is it of God? We are talking of people who got married simply because they want to obtain visa or they want to obtain stay permits in the countries where they are. A lot of brothers out there in the United States and Canada got their green cards because they got hooked to citizens of that nation. And after getting their green card, over 1 or 2 years, they part again. Are these covenants made by God? There are so many marriages out there that was not brought together by God. And if those marriages were not covenanted by God, then certainly I have the audacity to call for the end of such a marriage. So I want you to actually listen to this very particular edition because it will minister to you. A whole lot of us, we are going to learn a whole lot from the edition that we are giving today. If by any reason you disagree with me, you are free to do so. Just give me a comment at the end of the video. But I want you to watch this video from the beginning to the end. If you are yet to subscribe to this very particular channel, Marriage Without Tears, please do so immediately. It will augur well for you. It will augur well for your marriage. It will augur well for other forms of relationship that you may have. Just look at the red button by my side, click on it and get subscribed and be part of this great move. So let us start from the beginning. I want to look at this from 5 perspectives, 5 points actually, 5. But I want to start from point number 5 and then we build it up to point number 1. Listen attentively. Number 5. When your partner has been dominated emotionally by a third party, especially if that party is the opposite gender, your partner has been emotionally dominated. In this case, she or he has gotten involved in an affair, in an amorous relationship, and she or he does not want to part ways with her lover. You have tried all you can to make them separate. You have discovered that this is what is happening. She or he has owned up to it, but funny enough, does not want to part with her lover. There are so many situations like that all over the whole place. People who got involved and somehow they don't want to part with their lover. They don't care how or whatever damage is doing to their own relationship, to their own marriage. They simply want to continue. If you find such a situation in place and you have tried all manner of ways to reconcile or to bring back your spouse to begin to obey the covenant which he or she swore unto, and is not willing to do so, the only option may be simply to get separated or best of all to get divorced. Because if you continue in that relationship, the consequences can be very ugly. It can be very terrible. It can be very demeaning. You will lose your self-respect. You will lose everything in you. You will lose your career. You will lose your personality because somebody has encroached on your area of authority. And I want you to think wisely and get separated from such a spouse for the sake of your future. That is one thing that must make a man, a woman to give up on his marriage or on her marriage. That is number 5. Number 4, if you discover that you and your spouse are now working in cross purposes, somehow you are no longer working as one. Rather, you are all, both of you, you are trying to undermine the resourcefulness of one another. You are now trying to undermine one another in all manner of ways. I've seen couples who are hit by jealousy, petty squabbles, inner bitterness, a whole lot of negative struggle, a whole lot of negativism, a whole lot of internal rioting, a whole lot, couples that have undermined their marriages because of, negative competitions. At a point in time, they are now working at cross purposes. They don't care. Every one of them is eager to undermine one another. That is not what marriage is meant for me. If you discover that and you have tried all you can with your spouse to mend fences, but instead you are always at variance, you are always kicking at one another, you are always working at opposite direction, you are always working to destroy one another's prestige, destroy one another's dignity, destroy one another's then there may come a time when you have to give up on the relationship as a way of saving whatever is remaining. Because if you continue in that kind of relationship, the future may be very, very terrible. I have a young man who at every turn of the time, the wife every moment, every day was on him. There was a time that the young man actually was interviewed for a job. And that job was a contract, a very wonderful contract with a foreign organization, a foreign body. And the body was supposed to pay him, that organization was supposed to pay him $70,000 on monthly basis. It was a huge contract. On the very final day, when that young man was to be tested, the company now decided that the organization decided that all other, affiliates of the organization have to come together to test the capacity of this young man. So a meeting was called. And on this day, the young man prepared at his best. Only when he wanted to get out of his home, he discovered that the wife had locked the whole apartment. And these were iron doors, unbreakable iron doors. The wife had locked the whole apartment and went into her room. The young man tried all he could to open. He tried, he begged, he tried all manner of politics, every way he could, all manner of diplomacy. The wife refused to bring out the key. The wife refused. He tried beating her, no way. At the end of the day, after a lot of pleading and all, the key to that apartment was released to him around 10 o'clock in the morning. The appointment was actually for 9 a.m., but he got the key to leave his house by 10 a.m. By the time he got to the venue where this thing was supposed to take place, all the people that came for that program had left. And there was no point in that. He actually lost the job. He lost the opportunity. When he came back to his home, he became something else. From that moment, a lot of bitterness, a lot of jealousy, a lot of pain entered into him and his wife. They were always at each other's neck every day. As I'm talking to you, they have parted. And after their parting, the young man began another walk, another fresh walk. As a matter of fact, he considered this his day of salvation, the day his wife left him. So what are we talking about? If you discover that you and your spouse are now working at cross purposes, in bitter conflict, in bitter confrontations, in bitter competitions, in bitterness, in jealousy, and there is no way of coming together as one again, there may be need for you to part ways. It's as simple as that. Please, I want you to consider it. That is my number 4. Number 3, when the purpose of the union is not only abused but has become unachievable, you may need to part ways. When the purpose of the union has become not only abused but has become unachievable, you may need to part ways. What is the purpose of marriage? The purpose of marriage is for companionship. The purpose of marriage is for procreation. The purpose of marriage is to motivate and be an addition to one another emotionally and spiritually. The purpose of marriage is for two to become one so that they fulfill and they become beneficiaries of a better heritage. That is the purpose of marriage, to guarantee a greater and more glorious future for both couples. That is the purpose of marriage. But you discover that somehow your husband is never there. He's not a shoulder to cry on. You are always a loggerhead. You are not good companions to one another. You don't agree on a daily basis. And every day your differences seem to be multiplying. Your differences seem to be multiplying. And then, of course, maybe there's no child or children in the relationship. Well, by itself, that the couple does not have children is not enough for them to to part ways. But when other ones are added, somehow it may become, they may come in need for them to part ways. Especially when they no longer add value to one another emotionally and spiritually. Somehow, I know of a couple that were together as married couple for 4 solid years. The man and the woman never had sexual intercourse. For 4 solid years. They were sleeping in the same room, living in the same house, sleeping in the same room, waking up. Anytime that the man wants to go to bed, what does he do? He enters the bedroom, he locks the door, he closes everywhere. If the man is locking the door of his bedroom, it's like where CBN is locking their vault, because he's no longer sure about his spouse. Marriages are not done that way. If you discover that your marriage has gone to the level whereby you can no longer see eye to one another, you can no longer sit and discuss as couples, you are, as a matter of fact, internal hatred, acrimony has taken over the whole relationship, there may be the need for you to part ways, or at best have a separation and begin to pray, so that maybe the heart of your spouse can come back to you. But if by any reason it does not come back, you may get a divorce and look forward to better days, because that is how it has come. That is what it's supposed to be. Don't hang on to it. I thank you. This is number 3, I'm just saying. We're going to move to number 2. But before we do that, I want you to look at the red button by my side. Click upon it and get subscribed. Click upon that red button and get subscribed. The second thing, the second point actually is when the love has been betrayed to the level whereby trust is gone. Because trust is the essential ingredient of any blissful relationship. Trust. In any marriage where there is an absence of trust, then the marriage is gone. So what I will say, trust can be betrayed either through extramarital affairs, infidelity. Trust can be betrayed by financial mismanagement. Trust can be betrayed by the mismanagement of the emotions of your spouse. For instance, a man, while he had a job and was fending adequately for the home, the wife was calling him darling, oh sweetheart, honey, and all manner of things. His name is Michael, but he has gone from being Michael to Mike, and now my wife calls him Mickey. While the going was good, everything was rosy. But somehow the man lost his job. In the first few weeks, it was okay. But as time went on, by the time it was like 6 months, everything had changed. Before 1 year, the woman had turned the whole scale all around. The man had become like a bedroom slippers unto her. Does not honor the man, doesn't react well to the man, does not stay with the man, does not have anything. As a matter of fact, she goes out and comes back at will, does not want to be ordered, does not want to be told a thing. The man has become useless unto it. And anytime that there is any argument at all, she doesn't waste time in calling the man all manner of terrible names. She criticizes the man, she downtrusts. Before you know it, the man was like a disease unto her. At that point, a lot of bitterness went into the man, because this was a trust betrayal. It was a betrayal of trust. This is a man who trusted that his wife actually loved him with all her heart, but now he's seeing a different woman. Now, eventually, when that man gets another job, do you think that that woman will still be the woman he married? No. He would treat her in a different way. So sometimes it's like that. Sometimes money might have been given to your spouse and say, please, keep this money. And we need it at so and so time. We need it to do so and so thing. But I know that if I hold on to this thing, I may spend it, but I want you to keep it for us. And then you give it to your husband or to your wife. And after a period of time, when the need arose, you rushed in because, somebody that is prudent is keeping your money. And then you ask for it, and then the person starts scratching his or her head. That is a betrayal of trust. That is a betrayal of trust. It's also a betrayal of trust when you discover that every moment in time your husband or your wife is found in the arms of other people. Is found in the arms of other people. He comes out of a relationship. She has asked for forgiveness. You have forgiven her. But before 1 month, before 2 months, he's in another arm. Before you know it, he's in another. So when it continues happening like that, trust has been betrayed. Such a man or woman cannot stay. They cannot actually, live in trust anymore. So at that point in time, the joy of the relationship is gone. The joy of the relationship is gone. The joy of the relationship is gone. And if it continues, I begin to wonder, for how long should such a relationship be? While you are praying, while you are seeking for spiritual solution, while you are seeking for all manner of solutions, please, it may be better if you kind of separate from such a person and begin to check so many things. That could form a basis for divorce because there's no trust. And when there's no trust in a relationship, honestly, there's no relationship. For having stayed till now, I actually appreciate you before we go into the final point, which is point number one. Point number one, when there is a threat to life. When life is threatened in a relationship. I see so many relationships out there, cases of domestic violence, cases of abuse that has gone from a little hand, a little slap, a little kicking to a breaking of the neck. I've seen so many couples who have lost their lives because they stayed under the impression that marriage is forever. They stayed under the impression that it can be better. My husband will get better, my wife will get better. This issue of domestic violence is in both ways. I know of a man who went to bed and his wife carried a pestle that she used to pound food. She carried that pestle, went to where the man was sleeping, raised that pestle to the highest height and hit the man's head, and his brains exploded. I know of such situations. We see these things every day. It's not only women, it's in men also. I know of a woman who picked a knife, went to the husband, and then hit the woman one blow of the cutlass, and his head also exploded. There are situations like that. There are situations like that. And of course, there are so many women who have lost their life in the process. Why losing your life unto death when you can stay alive and look for the future? So when your marriage has gotten to the level where violence has become the order of the day, where the rules of conduct have been thrown to the dustbin, when you are now afraid to come to your home, when you are now afraid to sleep in the presence of your spouse, when you are now afraid to even look at your spouse eyeball to eyeball, when you are now afraid to come into the arms of your spouse, when at every point in time is like you are living in the same house with an enemy, please, I counsel you, please be separated from such a spouse. And if there is no order or restoration of order, please consider a permanent divorce. Life is better than death anytime, any day. And I pray that some of us who have watched this very particular edition, you will learn a few lessons from that. I don't care whatever religious divide you are, but some of the points we have mentioned here is very, very fundamental. They are very fundamental. I want you to take it to heart. I want you to look at it critically. I want you to reach in the inside of your heart and think and follow suit. Don't get buried or don't get hooked. Don't hide under a religious covering to deny what is happening in our world today. It's very, very important that you understand the basis for some of the points I've raised here today, so that we can save a life, so that we can save a home, so that that child that is always crying here and there, when the wife and when the mother and the father are fighting, he or she can be saved from this terrible agony. I tell you, there are so many homes that are going in terrible agony today. So I want you as a man, as a woman out there, to think of these points critically and take note. And if you are in marriage, please hold firm to your spouse. You never know the value of a good thing until you lose it. Don't lose your spouse. And I pray that your marriage will see glorious days. Thank you very much for having time. Before you leave, please click on this red button by my side. Click on it. Get subscribed. This is an ultimate channel for the couple that wants to make their marriage wonderful. This is your channel. Click on it. Get subscribed while we do this next week. Have a wonderful time.